Alright, we're going to start this first video from Chapter 1, Section 1. And that's where these numbers are going to come from when you're taking notes. The first one will be the chapter that we're working on. The second one will be the section, and this one happens to be called whole number operations. And a lot of this one should feel like review, so it's a good opportunity for us to just dust our brains off, but also to practice good habits of 6th grade note taking and being able to follow along and ask questions when we need it. So here we go. Our first example, example number 1, is going to remind us how to do adding and subtracting whole numbers. And you can see there's a bar graph here that shows the attendance at a 3-day art festival. And the question we're solving is, what is the total attendance for the art festival? So I've taken the number for day 1, which was 2,570, and written that one first. And then day 2 had 3,145 people, and then day 3 had 3,876 people. So it doesn't really matter in this case, since we're adding, what order they go in, but since they're all the same number of digits, I just made sure that I lined them up carefully by place value, and that's a really important step when you're remembering to add. And now we're going to go ahead and just add, always starting on this right hand side in the ones place. So 0 plus 5 plus 6 is 11, and we're going to go ahead and write that ones digit down here, and then we're going to remember to bring that other 1 for the 11 in the tens place up to that tens column, and then we're going to remember to add 7 plus 4, which is going to give us 11, plus we can add this other 1 up here, and that's 12, and plus another 7, that's going to bring us to 19. So we're going to put our 9, we're going to carry that other 1 up here, and then we're going to add this 1 plus our 5, which is 6, 1 more is 7, and 7 plus 8 is going to give us 15, and we're going to go ahead and write that in there. And some of you are going to group things differently when you do this, and that's okay. You might have noticed that 8 plus 1 plus 1 was going to give you 10, and then you could add that 5 in there for the 15. Some of you are just going to use those tricks, and that's great, but we're going to put our 5, and we're going to remember to carry that other 1 up here to our thousands place value, and then we're going to add 2 plus 1, which is 3. We're going to add this next 3, which is a 6, and then another 3 to give us 9, and that's going to go in the thousands place value. And so now our total number that we've just added together is 9,591, and we always put a comma after 3 digits, so you can go ahead and stick that in there. And remember, that's answering the question, what is the total attendance for the art festival? So 9,591 people attended the art festival over those 3 days. Example 1 is going to continue to go on to part B, and the second part of this example says, what is the increase in attendance from day 1 to day 2? So you want to find out how many more people attended on day 2 than day 1, and in this case the phrase how many more indicates that you need to find the difference. And remember that difference is a keyword for subtraction of the attendances on day 1 and day 2. So we look over here, and day 2 had 3,145 people, so we put that up here on top. And then 2,570 people attended on day 1, so we put that underneath, and we're going to find the difference of these two numbers by subtracting. So again, we line them up by place value, and we start in the ones place, and 5 minus 0 is 5, and then when we come to the tens column, we have to ask if we can take 7 away from 4, and we can't without doing a little bit of borrowing or regrouping. So since we can't take 7 away from 4, we're going to come over here to the hundreds place, and we're going to borrow from there, and that's going to leave us with 0 hundreds right now. But we are going to bring a group of numbers over here, so that 4 is going to become a 14 now, and now we could do 14 minus 7, which is 7, and then we come over here and we realize we can't take 5 away from 0, so we're going to have to do some more borrowing or regrouping. So we're going to come to this thousands place, and we're going to take from that 3, and we're going to make that a 2, and then we're going to bring a group right over to here where that 0 is, and so that 0 is going to become a 10, and now 10 minus 5 is 5, and we come to this thousands column now, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So you can choose to write that 0 in there if you would like to, or you can just leave that one blank. And that one helps us answer the question of how many more people attended day 2 than day 1. So 575 more people attended day 2 than day 1 of this art festival. Example 2 has us multiplying whole numbers, and the problem says a school lunch contains 12 chicken nuggets. 95 students buy the lunch. What is the total number of chicken nuggets served? So this key phrase here, total number, is going to help us figure out what we need to do, and if 95 students each buy lunch and each one has 12 nuggets, then we're going to want to take that number 12 and multiply it by 95 to get our answer. So we remember to start again in this ones column, and you'll notice that everything is lined up by place value. So our ones column here, our tens column over here, and we're going to start by multiplying our ones together. So 5 times 2 is 10, and we're going to write the 0 down here, and we're going to carry that 1 over here, and then 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 more is going to give us 6, so we're going to put that right down here. And then I personally like to go ahead and cross off that 1 because I'm not going to be using that again, and I don't want to accidentally confuse myself later and think that I need to use it. So I do that in this step. And then when we move down to multiplying our tens column here, we're going to remember that we're also done with this 5 now. So you can cross that out or you can just leave it alone, but we're going to jump over here and we're going to multiply this bottom tens number by each of our numbers on the top. And again, we always start to the right. So the other thing we're going to remember to do here is we're going to remember to put our placeholder 0 right here in that ones place because nothing else is going to go in there when we go to the 10 spot, and so everything else is going to start right over here one spot. So some people call it the magic 0, some people just call it a placeholder, some people even put an X instead of a 0, and whichever one of those you do is totally fine. Just remember to keep that place empty when you start multiplying from the tens. So we're going to go ahead and multiply 9 times 2, which is 18, and we're going to write that 8 here. And again, we're going to carry the 1, so we're going to write that up there, but we didn't want to confuse it with the other one. So we're going to multiply 9 times 1 here, and that's 9, but we're going to add that extra 1 in there, so that's 10 now, and we're going to write that down here. And then we're going to just add up our numbers, and 0 plus 0 is 0, and 6 plus 8 is 14, so we're going to write that 4, carry the 1, and actually, as I wrote that, that kind of slid over a little bit, so I'm even going to take the time to rewrite that and put it where it belongs, which is right above that 0. 1 plus 0 is 1, and then this final 1 is just going to we're going to bring that down, so our final answer is 1,140 chicken nuggets are served to those 95 students. This next part of the video is going to be the on your own problems, or sometimes we just call it the try it problems, and this is going to give you a chance to practice some of those skills that we just learned in those last couple of examples. So the directions just say to find the value of the expression, which in this case just means find the answer. And it does say you can use estimation to check your answer, and that's always a good extra step to try. And we'll talk about how you can do that and how it can be helpful if you're doing it right. So you're going to go ahead and write down each of these problems one at a time, solve it. Remember to line everything up carefully, and if you want to go ahead and try that estimation to check your answer to see if it's in the right ballpark, that's always a good idea. And then when you're finished trying all 3, then you'll be able to go ahead and click and we'll see if you're on the right track. Here are the answers to those 3 problems you just tried, and if you are looking over any of the work that you did and your answers don't quite match these, it's a good opportunity to make sure you put a big circle around that. And first of all, you should go back and check the work that you did and see if you can find your own mistake. Sometimes we find it just by doing it one more time and noticing that we may have made a small mistake. But if you can't find your mistake when you redo it a second time, then it's a good opportunity to ask someone for some help. So you can ask mom or dad or big brother or sister at home if they're able to help you, or you can check with me when you come back to class. And every time you do these, you're going to want to do that, because when we practice it here with these examples, we know if we're headed in the right direction before we get to any of those exercises or homework problems. To practice all of those skills that we just brushed up on, you're going to go ahead and turn to page 6 in your RAP-J, and you're going to do problems 1 through 6 only tonight. So remember, RAP-J is the Record and Practice Journal. That's the workbook that you can write directly in. And you're going to do page 6, and you're only going to do 1 through 6 tonight. And you're going to remember to show all that work, line everything up according to place value, and make sure you kind of show all that work really neatly. And then we'll check in and see how you're doing before we finish up Chapter 1, Section 1.